then welcome to everybody. Thanks. And welcome also to our speakers for 30 minutes long debate on a growing topic of our industry. Perhaps it's possible to close the door. Thanks. Yeah, it's fine. Then it's a debate on a growing topic of our industry. I mean the technological issue of data, artificial intelligence and algorithm. Then the question here in that panel is not that of creating music with artificial intelligence. I mean, that's a philosophical topic on what is creative and what is mechanical with computer. Our main issue here is much more that of dealing of what to do with data and how to create more value in distribution with a deep knowledge of both content and audience. To speak of this theme, we welcome three outstanding speakers. Haja, I pronounce correctly? No.
Åsa.
Rosa. Rosa has been more than 20 years in the music industry and has experience with many different positions, from label, digital music service, and licensing hubs to music fintech. She is an expert with music metadata in contention with usage and collections of royalties. She comes from Sweden, Stockholm. Matt is from London, I think. He works in the music database and discovery space at last.fm. What is exactly last.fm?
Last.fm is a online community of music fans who track all the music they listen to on their favorite services to a profile page, and then we surface some stats, data, and music discovery.
Thanks, Matt. And also Scholli. Scholli comes from Germany, I think. He is, among a lot of things, he is especially a lecturer. He is a lecturer for metadata at German Academy for Music Business, Pop Academy. Is it correct? Is also a consultant on artificial intelligence and metadata at the Fraunhofer Institute, and also works at a Swiss startup named Jamahook. Is correct?
It's correct.
Okay. For our panel, I propose the following thing. Each of them will speak of what he considers to be the main topic, the main issue at the present time for data, for our music industry. After that, he will, she or he will also give a strong example, and after that we'll have a first discussion between them, and at the second part of our panel, they will discuss a very important point, which is what will be the most important challenge for the music industry with data in the following years. Perhaps could we speak with you?
Yes.
Rosa, please.
Well, thank you everyone for being here at the hottest topic of the event, metadata. Honestly, it is quite hot because it's so relevant to get this right. I have spent a lot of my time, at least the last 10 years, to enabling fair, that creators have been paid properly. And it's far more difficult than one can think. So one of the issues that have been there for a very long time is the linkage between the diverse data sets of musical recordings, musical works, different copyright databases that are not connected properly. And I would say one of the topic here is this is so easy to solve technically. It's not an issue. It's a more political issue in regards of sharing the data, collaborating. We have had the global repertoire databases initiatives that has failed, but it's still really, really needed. So I spent a lot of my time with this, and there's also new data sets within metadata that is needed to be able to bring the correct payment, not only the linkage between the master recording and the works, but you also need the metadata of sound recognition, because if you want to collect, for example, things that are being played, in restaurants and so on, where it's not collected in another way. You need to be able to match those plays. And it's also an issue in regards of the user-generated content platforms, where there is a lot of user uploads, and they nowadays, since Article 17, need to have everything licensed. So music needs to be recognized. So the metadata of music recognition is needed as well as melody recognition, where we haven't really got the technology yet to recognize when you are singing out of tune in a shower making a YouTube video. But that's still a work that is being presented and should be collected for and fairly paid for. So that is generally something I think is super important. And maybe it doesn't sound sexy, but it is. To be able to bring the proper payment to the creators is a major issue. And I think the solution technically is, with the exception for melody recognition, that is still a little bit far off in regards of technology. The other things can be solved, and there are several companies working on making this global solution.
And do you have examples to illustrate the strong issues that you have spoken of?
I think the showering melody is one of those issues. I think, and one example is, for example, if you have a music service working locally in, let's say, Finland, it's a digital service. It's being collected for only by the Finnish society. The plays are, reported into the Finnish society, and they cannot recognize a lot of them because they don't have the linkages between the master recording and the works, if the works are not within their own database, like the ones that are connected to them. It can be Spanish songs, it can be Turkish songs, and if it's not making a lot of revenue, it's not going to be addressed and searched for each of those songs. So that's an example, and it's all over the world where the long tail is not being properly paid for.
Thank you very much for this very interesting link between data and royalties, especially in your issue. Thank you very much. Shirley, do you want to follow?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to spare time and just, I don't want to repeat what Asa is already saying, because it's 100% right. And what came into my mind while I was watching the other panels here, and there are so much people talking about that Web3 will solve a lot of things, and we are still messing up with things from the older perspective, and don't getting right the digital collecting for royalties in the old way. How will we come across with the new way? So the starting point I'm doing with students at Pop Academy, because they have to do the lecture, otherwise they can complete the course, and they know that metadata is boring for them, and they're trying to explain them that all what they are losing with not keeping an eye on metadata is money. And that's the point where they start to wake up. And then I can tell you some examples, and then we're getting in touch. And then it came across that they know already a lot of things they are broken, but they were not aware of that. And that's something we have to keep an eye on. Then especially, like you said, it's not a problem of technology. So I've worked at Fraunhofer. I know there's a lot of technology possible. There's the will, which is not possible from the political side, also from not politically speaking in the terms of the politicians, but the political side of the business. So the guys who are making money being responsible for the business, and the other side for being paid as an artist. That's the big issue here.
A strong example to illustrate?
A strong example. I was totally. I was not aware of that. I came across of that 4 years ago. Did you ever heard about the no intention of use in the US? So services can get rid of stuff where you're saying, okay, I don't know who I have to pay this money from this performance. So I'm telling this to the US Copyright Office. And you have to pay, I think, amount of $10 per song in the past. And then they said, more lobbying, and they're saying, okay, can we just collect all these songs together and transferring to the US Copyright Office? And then the US Copyright Office said, yeah, that's a good idea because we spare time. And then immediately the services committed thousands, 10,000s, and millions of tracks with the information we don't know where this money of copyrights has to go to. And you can serve this database. And in 2018 already, Sound Exchange collected these as XLS, and I was downloading an XLS from a Microsoft Music service with 3 GB in 2018. And then I was saying, okay, every German artist I know by name, from Rammstein, Schlager, hip-hop artists, I all typed that into this searchable database, and every artist was there. That means every European artist has money, and you have to claim that. But you have to claim that individually. So you can ask yourself if you claim your maybe 3 cents or 5 cents or 3,000 euro, or you can summarize all the 10 or 20 million tracks they are in it, and which will get never paid to artists. At that point, it's becoming ridiculous because there is money. There's royalties not paid to the right person. And if we don't get it in this economy, we won't solve it in Web3, in my opinion.
Thank you for that very important example also. Matt, your issue.
We're in a slightly unique situation, I suppose, because we are a consumer-facing website with millions of users globally who track and give us their data in return to get their statistics, etc. So that tracking is called scrobbling, and it tracks off Spotify, YouTube, Deezer, Tidal, whatever your sort of favorite music service is. So we live in many respects by metadata, essentially. The information that is given to us was back in the day in 2002, because that was when we started, was just the track, album, and artist name. And that was for a sort of, I guess, an ease of onboarding for users, essentially, not to give them too much data. But because we track from everywhere globally, we're kind of a window, I guess, into the issue of metadata globally. Because you can have a user track exactly the same song in Japan, and then one that's in Germany, and one's in the US, and the metadata that comes back is completely different. And so what Last.fm does is it tries to match that against our catalog. And then if it doesn't match it, it automatically creates an artist page, an album page, and a track page. So to give you an idea, Last.fm has about 660 million track pages. So there's the average, I think, streaming service has about 80 million tracks. So you can set in duplicates and deluxe editions, remasters, all the different names for exactly the same. So we're kind of a little bit of a window. We try our best to do it ourselves. We have obviously a large amount of data. We track about, I think it's about 2.4 billion songs a month that are coming into Last.fm.
How much?
2.4 billion songs a month that are coming into the service. And now we have our own catalogue, we have uploaded songs, we have label information, and then we've brought in another, I think, 4 or 5 Music Brains discogs to try and apply not only our own data, but also our users' data. They user-generated content, so they tag their own artists and their own songs with genres, etc. So we try and pool all that information, but that's the biggest challenge for us, without a doubt. It takes a lot of resource to try and work it out.
Thank you very much. I think you want to start a discussion now.
No. I was just thinking in regards of if you captured the sound recognition data and connected it to it, couldn't you get rid of lots of duplicates?
Yes, probably, yeah. If we could ingest that, that would be great. We're always looking for partners to be able to help us do this, because we're a small team, and it takes, when you've got a small amount of devs and you've got a lot of data like that pouring in and a lot of APIs going out, it takes a lot of resource and a lot of sprints to get it, to get it going, really.
I think one of the issues with the data being everywhere is that there's a lot of duplicates and that's a lot of data coming in from non-authoritative sources. For example, not saying anything bad about labels, but when they report in data about songwriters, it's not authoritative. It's not 100% right, and you couldn't really. I mean, you could search and maybe use that data for recognition, but you can't really use it for the proper use. I think one thing that could be done to improve this problem is actually put some push on the DSPs, the digital services providers, that if data is coming in from labels, it needs to be matched with authoritative data from collecting societies to see that it actually is licensed. And they wouldn't take it in otherwise. And that would make the connection happening faster.
Great.
That maybe will cause another problem, because then maybe the independent artists which are not member of a collecting societies will scream and start, okay, why only can get these artists who have a membership of a collecting society can get in. It's maybe the next challenge is knocking on the door. But just a good example, because a lot of people are producing music and saying, okay, there's already everything there. And I've heard from a plugin that you can write in every songwriter's credits into a plugin, into your digital audio workstation, and everything is there. Okay, there was at all times there was everything. There was the MIDI dates, there was chords, there was keys, everything. There was the number of tracks, stems. Everything is in the digital audio workstation, and maybe also the future data with songwriters. And then you press a button, and then you have a master, which is uncompressed audio, and you give the uncompressed audio together with a paper to the record label. Where is the metadata? Where's the data from the plugin, and who uses the plugin on the other side? So that's the same as it ever was. It was the same when you give the DAT, the CD, and now the digital master, the uncompressed audio, and maybe a spreadsheet today. But do we know that all at the label are working with a spreadsheet? Or I don't know, because I'm just asking this question. And yeah, that's still a problem.
And the longer the chain of custody on those things, the more human error there is. And that's, I think, probably one of the key things is people touch it all the time. And it goes around, and someone adds something, and someone adds something else, and then before you know it, you have, however many fields, and all it takes is one spelling error, one number in the wrong place, and suddenly you've got a duplicate. And that fans out pretty quickly, particularly when everyone's streaming in different countries. And it literally can be, even labels give out different
ISRCs for the same song. Sort of, but I think there is room for improvement of taking care of those errors with using AI, machine learning, trying to merge and sort of get the correctness of the data. But the better thing would be to get it right from the first place. I was wondering if I can change the conversation a little bit. Is there any new kind of metadata you think are coming in that will be used in Web3, for example, artist likeness and stuff like that, that would be important in the future?
Yeah, I'm always teaching the students that, of course, there is the traditional metadata and there's process data as well, and there's customer-related data, because the customer who is buying merch at the company is relevant to the other customer who is buying a ticket at this site maybe as well. So I think one of my first students 8 years ago is now leading the CRM department at Universal Music in Germany, and that shows that you could change something if you really if it really happens that people are aware of the metadata. When you say you can do something from the beginning, I'm working at the moment, you told us, for startup in Switzerland. They have licensed an AI from Fraunhofer, which they are putting together loops automatically, which are matching also with your recording. So you can record your audio from a guitar and your voice, and you automatically get matches from a big database of loops. So you can also generate without recording, and then you produce music. And all the pieces, that's the principle. All the pieces are produced by somebody, and if these pieces will be used in the future, the guy who has produced these pieces will get a fraction of that. And in the future, we were talking about that at the lunch time and at the rooftop. We are also thinking about that sometimes these pieces which you are reusing, these are longer loops or something, melodies, then you have to also reward the guys in case of copyrights in the future. That's also something you have to think about. So start from the beginning, delivering this as a result to users. He can use this, and then everybody else is reusing this. This information stays automatically there, and if it's reused, you can automatically track, put this in the dashboard, and then you pay out. This should be a complete cycle.
Yeah, and you just made the world much more difficult because you created a copyright for each stem. In a way, I know a company called Moodleizer, and they are working with this, stems, and then it sort of picks things in, and when you can sort of create music, so all the music works will be different, but then you probably need to copyright each stem.
Yeah, but as you said, the technical stuff is not the problem. We are dealing with billions and billions of data in real time while we are paying with our credit card globally. And there is somebody asking that we will have a problem with data and when working with data just with some pieces of music. I don't believe that.
It's not rocket science. It's
no, it's not. Definitely not record science.
Record science.
Record science. That's record and rocket science. Yeah.
Just a personal question: are there some blockchain projects in that industry in order to manage the royalties, the rights, and so on, or not?
I think where you see blockchain being most useful is when it comes to the right to claim, rather than you can't really use blockchain for each stream. It would kill the world, probably in computer usage. But if when it comes to not the static data, but when it comes to division of right to claim, you have the level of people investing into songs, NFTs, and so on. I think that's where it's going to be mostly used.
Thanks. Last question between you. If not, we have 7 minutes for questions for you if you want to ask our panel. Yes, please, I give you the micro.
I don't think I need it. Okay, fine. How do we solve the political issue? Is it time for one CMO?
So I have been working on that in the past, but I think one of the thing is that in a way having the copyright database sort of existing for free would be helpful, and not having the big fighting about ownership between societies developing and having different wills. I think something to be developed outside of the realm of rights owners maybe, and then being used for free would probably be a good idea.
Do you not think that's an existential issue for the societies?
Can you please repeat the question for the camera?
If it would be an existential, I think if you look at it as a distributed system where the rights owners actually have access to what is theirs, the shares and the splits, and that doesn't need to be shared. You can still keep that data with yourself. Then the existential thing for CMOs wouldn't exist because they would be the ones who hold their data in that sense.
Have a question for the audience? If not,
you were quick.
Yeah.
Just maybe to add this, what you have asked, and you said there should be a free database of truth with the rights incorporated. I was involved in a European initiative, which there were 3 European countries demanded to leading such a European initiative. It is built on the principle of an ERIC. An ERIC is a European Research Infrastructure Consortium. So you get really big money as a research institute, and some institutions who would like to solve a social problem. And the social problem is the music problem, because it affects society, and the people who are has to receive the money, and they are always on the low end. These are creative people. And the result of that was there was only 2 countries which were really saying, yes, we will support this initiative. And it was Malta and it was Slovenia. And we talked to the chancellor in Germany, and it was no chance to do this, to support this. Luxembourg, it was no chance. It was at the Parliament of Luxembourg, and then they've got a letter from the music services in Europe. If you are signing this letter and this initiative, we will decline all jobs we have in Luxembourg. They have, I think, mail boxes, but not jobs in Luxembourg, maybe. But that was the success was they declined it. So it was an initiative which ended in a dead-end street. And that was really a shame, because this was a window of opportunity where people came together and saying, okay, we have to solve this problem. We will get money, and we build a European database for music and music rights, and then we can reuse this worldwide. But it never happened, because people are afraid of doing this. And that was so frustrating for me. That's why I left that, and I'm joining the future, because I would do something from the beginning right. So,
Matt?
And it's just, I've missed it. I kind of missed it earlier. You know, we've been talking about rights and stuff, and for me, metadata is also about, clarity of metadata is a lot about the ability to be discovered. It's obviously you want to be paid, and you want to be, that's primary, but also you need discoverability. And so, to give you an example of how it kind of muddies the waters with Last.fm's AI, if you have an artist like Ghostface Killer, I think they produced an album with Adrian Young, and I think it's 12 Reasons to Die. Even if you go to Apple and then you go to Spotify, they're flipped. And it's like, so one's alphabetical order, it says Adrian Clark and Ghostface Killer. So Last.fm would take that, and your next songs would be more jazz-focused or soul-focused, and not so much more hip-hop-focused, for instance. So you start to kind of warp, and I guess it just provides a fog over discovery, really. Now, that's something that we need to work out as well. It's not just a massive problem for everyone. We're a music discovery service, so we've got to make sure that we do that. But it provides just a fog of across the AI, essentially, that doesn't enable it to see as clearly as it probably should do.
I just want, connect a little bit to what you were talking about. The metadata in regards to discovering music you like. There are really nice developments going on in regards of reading moods in type of music, and you sort of could connect to, I have this mood, and then this music comes with me. So that's quite exciting developments, really. And also in regards of our dystopian thinking of we will never get a copyright database, I think it will be changed. I think there will be a solution.
Thanks a lot. Time's almost over. Last question here, quickly. Thanks, if you want.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier that Web3 it's not going to solve the issue, but do you think it may ease this decentralization, this issue about the political things, because it is not in hands of?
Yeah, there's maybe another technical issue. I've read, maybe you can also read this afterwards. There is a famous blog article from Moxie Marlinspike, who's the founder of Signal. He tried out the NFT stuff himself, and he found out that nearly every decentralized app is using 2 services and platforms, the same. So we are in the world of platforms and client and server as well. So don't believe the guys who are talking to you that we are talking about the decentralized net. it's not decentralized. The new gatekeepers are already there. And that's why we will have the same issues. That's more complicated than it is. And of course, I love decentralized in the future. So to maybe have democratized music as well. But it's hard to get there. You have to be aware that we didn't solve it now. And if we are not aware that we haven't solved it now, then we won't solve it in the future. Just getting rid of that and saying, okay, forget about that, we won't solve that, and starting new, and don't think about the limits and barriers already existing in Web 3, then you won't solve it. That's the thing. But in general, if it would be decentralized, it would be perfect. But then you have to provide your own node and your own server, and then it could be. Or as a group, not only as an individual.
Thank you very much to our speakers. Thank you very much. And of course, we can pursue the discussion outside the room, of course. And thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.